joined by former Onondaga County 1st Chief District Attorney Rick Trumpio to break down what we saw today during closing arguments. Rick, you worked under Bill Fitzpatrick for a number of years.
Yes.
Before we get into closers and kind of where we are in jury deliberations, I'm very curious as a prosecutor, any attorney on either side, when it goes to the jury, what are you feeling?
So a jury trial is always a crapshoot, and that's why jury selection is so important. When they get it, you're just hoping, number one, that they got your message clear, that they go back into deliberation room and they remember things that you said to direct them to the evidence, because that's the last thing they hear is your words.
Yep.
And
nervous time?
Both sides. Yep. You definitely get nervous. You know, you get nervous until the jury comes out and you hear either guilty or not guilty. So I think that particularly a case like this that has national attention and there's so much at stake, I think from the defendant's perspective, what's at stake is really the rest of their lives, whether they're going to be in prison for a substantial part of the rest of their lives, and for justice for the Brooks family, and justice for what people saw when they look at that video.
Yeah, so let's break down. You mentioned the final words, and Bill Fitzpatrick had the final words before the judge gives instructions to the jury. So kind of great, or what did you think of his closing arguments today? You've seen a lot of them from him.
I have, and I can tell you this was a classic Bill Fitzpatrick summation. It had the right amount of passion and emotion, the right amount of outrage, and of course his trademark sarcasm. You could tell that he took this personal, and I think that he gave a very good summation. I think that he responded to the defense claims, and I think it goes back to what we talked about the first night during jury selection, and that is the defense was going to try to mitigate the intent element, and I think they all tried to do that. I think with regard to Kingsley, it's interesting, his attorney kept saying he didn't have intent, he didn't have intent. Intent's really not the issue of the murder case, it's depraved indifference, utter disregard for human life. I do think that they did what I thought they would do, is talk about what a horrible place it is to work in, that a prison, you're with violent people. It's a hellscape.
Sure.
And I just don't know if that's going to hold any weight with the jury because the video is so powerful. I do think that that the two defendants that had less culpability, just in terms of physical contact with the victim, you know, the gang assault is probably a good fit for the jury if they're thinking along the terms that the defense pointed out, which is, my guys, they didn't even touch him.
They've made that point several times.
But I thought DA Fitzpatrick talked about how could you ignore what you're seeing? How could you ignore what you're hearing?
Join the human race, I think he said at one point, right? Yeah. I'm curious, this is such a complicated case, and we have talked about it, how the jury works through this. 3 defendants, the evidence was pretty much all the same presented at one, but you've got 3 different people basically with the same charges, but a number of charges. It seems complicated in that jury room for them.
So they have to consider each defendant's charges individually. And it's going to be, I think the deliberation process is going to be a lot longer than people may think. They got the case late today. They didn't really deliberate. And then tomorrow they'll go in, and there's usually 1 or 2 leaders that kind of rise up in the jury deliberation room, and they'll kind of take control of how the deliberations go down. The 4-person of a jury in New York is, they're not elected by the rest of the jurors. It's by law, it's the first juror sworn. So that juror might not be have great leadership skills,
Gotcha.
right?
Yeah, right.
They may not be assertive. So there will be leaders that kind of rise, and they'll kind of take control of the deliberations. I think that there's a process of jury assimilation where the jurors start sharing what their perception of the evidence was, and then the other jurors will kind of correct them that, no, your recollection on that's wrong, and that's why there's readbacks. So that's the other thing that might slow the deliberations down. You had a week and a half of witnesses. And I think that some jurors are going to point to testimony that other jurors may not have remembered, may not have heard, may not have been paying attention at the time. And so there'll be readbacks. And what's interesting is watch for the readbacks, because that will tell you where the jury's thinking.
Last quick one. Would you guess, and this is a total crystal ball kind of thing, could we see a verdict by the end of the week, which was really only Thursday and Friday, or are we likely to see it sometime next week?
I think that they'll deliberate the day tomorrow. I think it's possible we'll see a verdict by Friday. I think that because the video evidence was so strong, and either the jurors are going to look at that and say, yep, or they're going to say, well, I'm not really sure that those guys did what the prosecutor is alleging.
Fits the crime, and there's your doubt.
That's it.
So that's it. All right, Rick, we'll definitely have you back when that verdict comes down for sure. We appreciate the insight as always. It's really great to get into the mind of a prosecutor and try. Nobody's really able to do it, but get inside that jury room a little bit. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it very much.
You're welcome.